Well, good evening. Ethan back for another beer review. And tonight I am doing Founders, the Backwoods Bastard, aged in an ale aged in oak bourbon barrels. This gets a 97, a world class on Beer Advocate. I really like it. I've watched some other reviews for this. People sing its praises. It's got the cool label, the old kind of mountain man, hobo looking guy, hillbilly with his axe. Really cool. On the back, it says, expect lovely, warm smells of single malt scotch, oaky bourbon barrels, smoke, sweet caramel, and roasted malts, a bit of earthy spice, and a scintilla of dark fruit. It's a kickback sipper made to excite the palate. And it is 11% alcohol by volume. I've seen other specs on it online that it was 11.2. I guess it varies slightly year to year, but this year it's 11%. And this bottle was bottled on 9/3/20, so very fresh. You can cellar this beer. I mean, I hear people say that in other reviews. They'll cellar the Backwoods Bastard like for 3 years and then review it, and at 11%, it will keep very well. I got a 4-pack for $14.99 at Royal Liquor Store. So not the cheapest, but you're getting a good product for the price. And Founders, comparatively, their prices are pretty good for a oak bourbon barrel aged stout. I'm excited to try this. I've seen it before, but never had it. Let's get in it and try it. I'm excited for this one. All right, a little bit of smoke. All right, smells like a winner. Let's get a pour. And this is 306 calories per 12 ounce, so very high calorie. It's like a dessert product, really. Well, it poured with a massive 4-finger head, very, very creamy colored, beige, khaki, caramel colored. The beer itself is actually not that dark. I'm getting sort of a ruby red, mahogany, brown, getting some red notes as the light hits it. It's not as opaque or dark as like a Guinness or a Founder's Breakfast Stout or Old Rasputin that I reviewed earlier. Let's get an aroma. Okay, with the bourbon barrel aging and the bourbon barrels, warm smells of single malt scotch, I am getting kind of a liquor, a whiskey, bourbon, scotch kind of aroma. It has that, it's almost like at 11%. I know this is a stout, but like with that aroma, I'm almost getting that alcohol aroma and that bourbon barrel aroma is sort of overpowering the qualities you would normally get in a stout. But because the ABV is so high and because they aged it for so long in the bourbon barrels, you're getting almost more of a bourbon aroma than a beer or stout typical aroma. I've had some bourbon whiskeys before. Not a whole lot, though. I'm pretty much a novice in the bourbon and single malt and blended scotch whiskey realm. I don't know much about them. I haven't reviewed any. But in the future, we'll see. I'll probably review and try some. But for now, I don't know much about bourbon, single malt scotch that this has the notes of. It says on the back. So we shall see. I'll see if I like it. I'm sure I will. I love barrel-aged stouts. I love stouts in general. I reviewed several, and I really like them. I love my macros too, but Stouts are just special. They're just a step above. Great style of beer that I love. And they just work really well, especially for the fall time. Kind of a sweet aroma, almost like a caramel. Head died down pretty quick. Still sticking around though. See if we can get the rest in there. I don't want to go on too long. Some of my videos are a little too long, I feel, but it doesn't matter really. I'd rather take my time and give it the justice that the beer deserves than like rush through it, you know? Okay. It's so weird that it has that almost ruby red color. I would have thought something like this would have been black, you know, not see-through. Let's go ahead and try it. The taste really follows the nose in that, as I was describing earlier, it almost tastes, if I can describe it this way, it almost tastes like a bourbon Scotch whiskey beer. Like, that's how much influence the oak bourbon barrel aging has on the effect of the flavor. It almost is transcending from beer to bourbon whiskey flavor. It has a nice, warm, smooth sensation on the tongue, though. This is not boozy, nor is it bitter. IBUs on this are lower than the old Rasputin, no doubt. I didn't actually see any IBUs listed online, but if I had to guess, they're probably 50 or less. This is not bitter. It's kind of smooth. The old Rasputin was much more bitter, and that was 75 IBUs. Different kind of beer, I know, but I'm using it kind of as a reference point. This is not bitter. I was expecting it to be bitter. It has the look of a beer that would be very bitter and dark toasted malt. This is not that. This is more of a warming bourbon Scotch kind of taste that almost overpowers those other qualities, as I mentioned before, that you would normally have in a stout, if that makes sense. It's a sipper. It's enjoyable. You're getting kind of a caramel. It's sweet. And I love stouts because, you know, with a lot of IPAs, it's that real bitter pine needle kind of flavor. And while that has its place, I do like a hot bitterness and IBU to complement the dark toasted malts and the alcohol content. And I think stouts do that well. That's why I like them. To me, an IPA has too much bitterness versus too little alcohol content and barley malt content. I would prefer a good mix of the two. You know, I like it where they meet at a good point. You know, high IBU stout with a high ABV and toasted barley malt. Those two together make for a very pleasant drinking experience. When it's too much one or the other, it kind of throws it off, you know. This is enjoyable. It's you're almost getting some alcohol legs. The alcohol is so high, you're almost getting some alcohol legs on here at 11%. But I mean, even at 11%, this is less alcohol than most wines. So all things considered, yeah, for a beer it's high, but for a lot of other alcoholic beverages, this is not that high, you know. But it has a nice, sweet, warming flavor. And I see on the website, Founders Brewing Company, actually, they have like hoodies and shirts with Backwoods Bastard on it. Year-round availability, bourbon barrel-aged Scotch ale. Okay, so it's not actually a stout. So if I said that earlier in the video, I was wrong. It's not a stout, it's an ale. So, Not a stout. This is not a stout. That's probably why it's not that dark black color that I was commenting on earlier. That would explain it, because these ales like this, it's almost like a barley wine. You know what I mean? Like, you get, sometimes the bottle shops will sell like a single tall wine looking bottle, but it's a beer, but it's a barley wine, and usually like 13, 14%. Although I believe in Georgia, 14 is the limit. But yeah, this is not an ale, or not a stout, the Backwoods Bastard. It's an ale, high alcohol, bourbon barrel aged Scotch ale. That's probably why I'm not getting that trademark toasted barley malt that a stout would have. So I apologize if I said that in the video. I can't remember. I think I was under the false impression that this was a stout, because most Founders products that I've had are stouts. But this is not, in fact, a stout. All right, for a score, I'd give this a 97. It's good. It's smooth, drinkable, deceptively sweet and drinkable for such a high ABV ale. It's delicious. It's well put together. It's not overly bitter, nor is it overly sweet. It's a good mix, a good marriage of the two. 97 out of 100 for the Backwoods Bastard from Founders. Thank you for watching, and cheers.